John, who's going to get fired over this?
Peter, the purpose of the document that we're putting out today is to sort of collate the accountability. It's the purpose of it is
Military leaders.
Purpose
giving
of it
advice.
is
Doesn't
to
sound like
study
it was good.
lesson
You admit
learned.
that the intel was bad. So how can President Biden ever trust when they come into the Oval Office with the PDB that anything in there is legit?
What I said was,
That intelligence is a mosaic. What if the mosaic, all the pieces are incorrect?
what I said was intelligence is hard business. This document and this effort isn't about accountability today. It's about understanding Afghanistan.
But it doesn't seem like after the country has had a couple months to review this, and as the government has, people don't have an issue with the decision to order troops out of Afghanistan. It is with the way that this president ordered it done. There were people hanging off of Air Force jets that were leaving, and you're saying that you guys are proud of the way that this mission was conducted?
Doesn't
Proud
mean
of that?
proud of the fact that we got more than 124,000 people safely out. Does that mean that everything went perfect in that evacuation? Of course not, officials. So yeah, there's a lot to be proud of, Peter.
Page after page, this places the blame on the previous administration, starting with page 1. President Biden's choices for how to execute a withdrawal from Afghanistan were severely constrained by conditions created by his predecessor.
Yeah.
Let me just follow up with you on something that Ed was asking, which is, does the president take responsibility for the withdrawal and everything that happened thereafter?
If you just look, Kristen, at what's happened since we pulled out of Afghanistan and see what the United States military has been better able to do on behalf of the American people, I think there's only one conclusion you can come to, and that it was the right decision.
And as you list the things that could
But
have been...
wait, before I answer that, but you need to remember, he had to deal with it based on what he inherited.
Yet he had 8 months to plan, did he not?
So yes, he took some time to work through that. I don't think he could be blamed for that.
Does the president believe, what mistakes does the president believe he made?
I'm not going to speak for the president on that score. What I can tell you is that, again, we've done a good faith effort here to work through the lessons learned of this withdrawal and acted in accordance with the best judgment of his advisors.
Given the enormity of this report, given the American lives that were lost, why are we not hearing directly from the president?
We are putting this forth for you and for Congress today, and I think you've heard from the president. He has talked many times about his decision to withdraw from Afghanistan.
Specifically, how is the Trump administration responsible for the disorganized and chaotic process of evacuation and determining who gets to board these evacuation flights? I mean, you mentioned that there's a review in terms of the lessons learned. Can you share some of those lessons learned, just specifically in terms of who gets to board evacuation?
Defend that airport from external threats. That's pretty remarkable. And so for all this talk of chaos, I just didn't see it, not from my perch. At one point during the evacuation, there was an aircraft taking off full of people, Americans and Afghans alike, every 48 minutes. And not one single mission was missed. So I'm sorry, I just won't buy the whole argument of chaos in there.
Is there anything in the review that addresses the problem of who was in charge at that time? I think there was a lot of analysis that questions whether it should have been the military who's in charge of the evacuation versus the State Department. And that is partly the problem of the confusion. And I understand your point about planes leaving full of people, but there are also planes who left empty and people falling off planes.
I actually don't accept the premise of your question that there was some sort of confusion over who runs. It was a
I'm curious if there was a moment during the Afghanistan withdrawal that the president lost confidence in the assessments that were given to him by the intelligence community and lost confidence in the intelligence community itself, given that they failed to foresee how quickly the Taliban would advance and Kabul would fall.
The president knows how hard people work across the administration.
It doubts that they weren't working hard, but their assessment was flawed, and they failed in that assessment. Has anyone been held accountable for giving the president a wrong view of how things were turning out on the ground?
But it doesn't mean that people weren't trying and doing their best effort to understand that. But intelligence, getting it right every single time, man, that's a tough hill to climb. Doesn't mean that they don't try.